A brief intro. Felix was from a humble Christian family, but after the death of his father, life took a sharp turn for poor Felix. Ngozi, his mother, squandered all the money given to her by the white man Bola, her late husband, was working for. With the money gone, she and her children were hit with extreme poverty, and Felix was the target of her constant outbursts. Even though he was now hawking plantain to fend for the family, Ngozi was not appreciative of his efforts and constantly compared him to Obinna, her neighbor's rich son. Even though the source of Obinna's wealth was clearly questionable, Ngozi did not care. She wanted some for herself. Felix soon followed Obinna to the city to learn the secret of his trade, but then there was more to this than met the eyes. After 3 years of being broke and the constant financial demands from his mother, Felix followed Obinna to see a native doctor who performed money ritual for Felix. He became wealthy, but this wealth came at a great cost. Even though Felix was now a wealthy young man, he was very unhappy, and out of confusion, he decided to pay his mother a visit in the village. Ngozi was happy to see her child, who had now become successful overnight. She called her relative and all her friends to welcome her successful child back. Little did she know, beneath the innocent look of Felix was an aggressive beast waiting to be unleashed. Ngozi was the happiest person in the community. She doted about her son, who had become very successful. She ordered a goat should be slaughtered and a big meal prepared for the small crowd of admirers who had gathered to welcome Felix back. Everyone was jubilant. It was like a small festival. Even the community Ogene group, who heard of Felix's sudden wealth, all rushed down with their local instruments. They were playing while singing praises of Felix. Felix, you are a true son of the soil. You are like the great Iroko, which provides shade for the smaller trees. May your days be filled with happiness, and may your wealth never run dry. These were some of the words of their songs. Felix was very pleased with this honor and recognition. He threw more money in the air. But then, even though Felix seems very happy and calm outwardly, inwardly he was very disturbed. He knew that the clock was ticking and the night must not meet him outside. He knows how catastrophic it will be for him and others. He secretly signaled to his mother for them to meet indoor, that there was something urgent he must discuss with her. Even though Ngozi was hesitant, she could see the look of urgency in her son's eyes. She excused her guest and followed him indoor, all this while wondering what could be troubling her son. Alone indoors, Felix let out his emotion. He was weeping profusely like a child. Ngozi consoled him. She was even more confused than before. "My son, what is the matter?" she asked him with a trembling voice, with the look of worried concern on her face. For a moment, Felix was silent. He was sobbing quietly, trying to control his emotion. After a while, he replied to her.
Mama, your son is in big trouble. I have done something very terrible.
He started, with tears flowing down his eyes.
The money ritual the native doctor did for me is turning me into a monster every night. A deadly beast that must be locked away every night. And to make matters worse, the ritual is taking the innocent souls of ladies every week. I'm so frustrated right now. Please, Mama, tell me, what must I do to stop all this? Should I confess to the village elders?
He sought her advice with more bitter tears flowing down his face. Throughout the conversation, Ngozi was just smiling, much to Felix's surprise, judging by the severity of what he was telling her. Even before he could make much meaning of what was making Ngozi smile, she started. "My son, I can't believe you are getting yourself worked up because of this trivial issue," she started. her facial expression becoming more serious. Listen and listen good. You must not tell anybody the secret of your words. Even the task the native doctor gave to you is very simple, judging by the level of wealth you have acquired in such a short period of time. Is it not just simply turning into an animal at night, and during the day you will be enjoying your money? As for the ladies, don't worry, I'll be getting them for you. As long as the money keep coming, they will be flocking to you in their thousands. She told him, patting him reassuringly on his shoulder. Felix was surprised at the response Ngozi gave to him. Even though Ngozi saw nothing wrong in what was happening, deep down, Felix knew he was on a very wrong path and sincerely wanted to make amends, but then he was confused and don't really know what to do. While these confused thoughts were passing through his mind, there was a knock on the door. Ngozi and Felix came out to meet Amaka, Ngozi's friend, standing at the door. Come out, let's celebrate. Everyone outside is looking for you, she told them with a broad smile, totally unaware of the situation at hand. Felix and Ngozi soon rejoined the gathered crowd outside, and the celebration continued. But deep down, so many thoughts were running through her mind. She knew Felix, her son, was in deep trouble because of what he had been involved in. She knew the village elders were the ones with the answers and probably a solution to Felix's problem. But then, she dare not tell them because if they undo the ritual, the money will stop flowing, and she was not ready to risk that for anything. She must do everything within her power to make the source of Felix's wealth a well-guarded secret. She thought to herself with a soft smile on her face, agreed for material wealth, cladding her better judgment. Soon the celebration ended and the gathered crowd started going back to their respective homes. Ngozi was very disturbed. She knew Felix must leave the village as early as possible to avoid raising suspicion. But then it was too dangerous for him to leave that same day because night would meet them before they would get to the city. And Felix obviously was not someone to be in contact with at night. She went to the local market to purchase some chains she would use to restrain Felix in his room that night, so that the following morning they would make for the city. But then there was a big flaw in Ngozi's plans. She actually underestimated just how violent Felix could be once he is transformed into the monster. So that evening, the moment the sun started setting, Felix went into his room and Ngozi chained him down securely and locked the room door securely from outside. And as the dusk turned into night, Ngozi's anxiety increased more than ever. She was afraid, but for a long time, everywhere was silent. The whole house was very quiet, with no single sound coming from Felix's room. Ngozi breathed a sigh of relief all the while, wondering why she worked up herself for nothing. With a warm smile on her face, she retired to her bed and slept up soundly. But then, at exactly 2 a.m., in the middle of the night, Ngozi was woken up with a strange sound. It was a very deep growl, unlike anything she had heard before. She stepped out of her room consciously, in deep shock. She could tell immediately that this sound was coming from the direction of Felix's room, which confirmed her suspicion. She was terrified as the sound kept on getting more disturbing and louder. There was a rattling sound. Whatever was within the room was tugging violently at the chain she used to restrain Felix, much to Ngozi's horror, and she could judge from the sound coming from within that those chains won't hold much longer. And this made Ngozi so afraid because she knew if this chain gave way, nobody would be safe because the door to Felix's room was old and weak. She was praying and fidgeting, calling on whatever she believed in to come to her rescue. her dark soul suddenly started seeking for refuge. Meanwhile, the commotion within Ngozi's house was gradually attracting the attention of all her neighbors. Everyone was awake in their homes and afraid. They were hearing the sound of a wild animal growling and violently. None dared to come out of their house for fear of being eaten by the wild beasts. Meanwhile, within Ngozi's home, things were not getting any better. It was like the chain were getting the monster from within even more angry. Ngozi and her other children were crying profusely, even though the children could not clearly process what was happening. But then they knew whatever was making this noise did not mean them good. But then, just when all hope was lost, the noise coming from Felix's room stopped suddenly, and peace was restored to the home and the entire neighborhood once more. Much to Ngozi's relief, this was the worst night of her life, and it dawned on her that what Felix had told her earlier was no child's play, but a very serious issue. The very next morning, Ngozi consciously opened Felix's room door gently, and within was Felix on the floor, totally exhausted and panting heavily like someone who had toiled all through the night. Ngozi was really happy, but Felix was very unhappy. Ngozi went to him and consoled him, but then they started hearing noise outside their house. Ngozi looked through the window. It was some of her neighbors. They had heard the noise from last night, and they were talking with the look of worried concern on their faces. Ngozi quickly dashed out of her house to join them, to get involved in the conversation, to avoid any suspicion coming her way. A wild animal was roaming outside last night. It sounded so aggressive. What could it be? They whispered among themselves in total confusion. Ngozi breathed a sigh of relief. No one knew it was Felix, she thought to herself. But then, Ushena, one of her neighbors, told the rest.
But I'm really confused. If this wild animal was truly roaming outside last night, how come it did not eat any of our livestock that were outside?
He asked them. These points make the rest of them to start thinking. Truly, this is a mystery, they thought to themselves. Ngozi's heart sank. She was afraid because if they kept on asking these questions, they would go to the village elders for help, and the elders would consult the oracle, which would bring out the whole truth. And Ngozi did not want that to happen. She knew she must do something and do it really quick. So she immediately called the rest of her neighbors. Truly, a wild animal came here last night. I saw it with my own naked eyes. As the roaring kept on getting disturbing, I peeked through my window and I saw it walk into the darkness. I would suggest we call on a group of our brave hunters in the village to guide the village at night and kill the wild animal if it returns, she told them. There was a murmur of approval from her neighbors. They all liked the idea, and she continued. And to sponsor the hunters, I will be donating 500,000 naira from my purse for them to guide the community, she told them. The neighbors were so happy. They all thanked her vehemently, and everyone left for their various homes. Back at home, Ngozi told Felix to pack his belongings so they could leave the village immediately. He could not risk sleeping in the village one more night, otherwise the village hunters will hunt him and unalive him, mistaking him for a wild animal. While Felix was packing his belongings, Ngozi took the rest of her children to her sister's place. She told her she was going back to the city with Felix and she would not stay long, that she would be sending her money regularly for her children's upkeep, and her sister agreed, and they greeted farewell. That same morning, Ngozi and Felix left the village for the city. Back at Felix's residence, Ngozi was dumbfounded at the level of wealth and influence Felix her son commanded. She knew he was rich, but not to this extent. In his garage were some of the most expensive cars from several world brands, and he owns one of the most luxurious residences in Ikoyi, the big man side of Lagos. Ngozi was very happy. With so much money that she knows what to do with, Ngozi resumed her wayward lifestyle. She was always at the nightclub where she would order very expensive wine and throw so much money in the air. She soon became very popular and was nicknamed Thick Lady, probably because of her size and her display of endless wealth. She was living the life she had always dreamt of. Because of the influence she exuded, the men were flocking around her, each trying to catch her attention, and she was changing the men like someone changing wrappers, each satisfying her desire in the other room, and fulfilling all her fantasies. And to make sure the money does not stop flowing, once a week, Ngozi will secretly carry 2 or 3 ladies home for Felix to devour, even though the instruction the old man gave was for Felix to sacrifice one lady weekly. Ngozi felt one lady a week won't make enough money. If one lady weekly could make Felix as rich as this, just imagine the sea of wealth I would be swimming in. Once he starts eating 2 or 3 ladies weekly, she thought to herself with a broad smile on her face, agreed, taking the better of her. And true enough, the higher the number of ladies Ngozi brought to Felix, the greater the money that will appear in his room the following day, much to Ngozi's great joy. The screams of the ladies every night as they met their horrible end in the hands of Felix did not prick her heart. She would smile as their scream rang on into the night, knowing fully well there will be so much money the following morning. Meanwhile, Felix, though now a man of exceedingly great wealth, was not happy. He could not derive any joy and happiness in this wealth, knowing fully well how the money had come and the souls that has been taken. And to make matters worse, he was beginning to have some strange experiences. He was hearing voices in his head, cries of ladies. These were the souls he had taken. They were crying and following him everywhere. Sometimes Felix would forget himself and shout at the voices to stop tormenting him. Sometimes he would behave this way in public, which would make those nearby begin to wonder if he had gone insane, since they cannot see or hear those he was shouting at. All this made Felix devastated. And whenever he complained to his mother that he was tired of this mess and needed a solution, Ngozi will always get angry. And whenever her nagging could not do the trick, she will then break down in tears. My son, how can you ever think of this? If the money stop coming, how are you going to take good care of your mother? And most especially your younger siblings. I send a lot of money home for their upkeep and I'm making arrangements to fly them to the best schools in the world, far away in the white man's land. If the money stop coming, how are we going to achieve all these goals? She would lament while crying some more. And this meant Felix's heart. Felix has a soft spot for Ngozi, his mother, and was always moved by her tears. But what he did not know was that those were just crocodile tears. Ngozi was not sending a dime home for the children she left in the village. Neither was she interested in Felix's well-being. She was only interested in his money. And deep down, she knows that the money will not flow forever, and she wanted to amass as much of it as possible before the inevitable will happen. Hey, before we jump right back into our story, today's massive hug goes to Miss Julie, watching from Canada, and Shisum, watching from Oka, Nigeria. Thank you so much for the love and support. Please, where are you watching us from? Type it in the comment section so I can send you a hug in the next episode. Also, leave a like on this video and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Alright, back to our story. And as the days went by, Felix became even more depressed than ever. The voices became louder and more disturbing. He started smoking and drinking heavily and taking lots of drugs to kill his conscience and lighten his mood, most especially on the night he would be with the ladies. Even though the excess intake of these drugs was having its toll on Felix, Ngozi did not care. She was more interested in Felix making her more money to feed her greed. This went on for some time until something very unusual happened. Obinna, the one who introduced Felix into money ritual, suddenly fell sick, a strange sickness that surprised the doctors because all the tests the doctors ran on him simply could not detect any tangible disease to pin this sickness to, much to the horror of everyone. Amaka, Obinna's mother, and other relatives who had rushed down to the city following the news of Obinna's sickness all broke down in tears. Amaka was wailing, blaming her son's ailment on her evil village people who are envious of her son's massive success. On his sickbed, Obinna requested to see Felix to have a word with him alone, and he was brought before him. In a weak voice, Obinna started.
Felix, there is something I must tell you. You need urgent help. The money ritual the old man did for me is the reason for this ailment. The task given to me at the shrine was that I must not sleep at night, and I must not sleep with the same lady twice. That is why I spend every night at the nightclubs just to stay awake throughout the night to avoid dozing off. But yesterday, I could not hold it anymore. I slept off right at the club. In my dreams, an old man slapped me, only for me to wake up to this ailment. I reached out to the Baba, and he told me there was nothing he could do. This is the end of the road for me. There's no amount of drugs that will save me now. But as for you, you still have time. You must look for a way out for yourself immediately, before it is too late.
He told him in a very weak voice. Felix could not hear the other words he said. He was too weak to speak. A cold shiver ran down Felix's back. The reality of the situation began to dawn on him. While he was there, the doctors came in to prepare him to be moved from the hospital. Obinna's relatives were taking him to the village.
This is no ordinary sickness. This is a spiritual case and must be treated in a spiritual manner. Our village elders know what to do.
Obinna's uncle, the oldest among the relatives present at the hospital, told the rest. Immediately, Obinna was rushed out of the hospital, but before they could even get to the ambulance, he kicked the bucket, much to the horror of everyone. Everyone in the hospital was thrown into great grief. Amaka rolled on the floor, refusing to be comforted. It was like her life had ended following the passing of her son. Felix sat at a corner in the hospital. The tears were just streaming down his face. So much thoughts were running through his mind. Obinna, who was like a senior brother to him, was gone. His life was cut short by his own poor life choices, and he began to think about his own life. He knew he was not any better than Obinna, and his end was inevitable if he did not retrace his step. The journey from the hospital back home was heavy and quiet. Ngozi could sense her son was troubled and in a very bad mood due to the passing of Obinna. She also suspected Obinna must have told him something in the hospital before his passing that was troubling him greatly. When they got home, Ngozi did not hesitate to ask him what Obina told him at the hospital before he passed on. Felix was very honest. He told Ngozi everything Obina told him and how he want him to find a solution so he won't end up like him. Ngozi, in her usual manner, immediately kicked against the idea of Felix undoing the ritual. Is it because of this trivial issue that is making you so upset? Listen to me, my son. I'm your mother. I won't say something bad about to happen to you, and I will let it happen. Just trust me. As long as I keep bringing these ladies to you, you will be fine. No harm will come to you. Believe me, she told him while patting him gently on his shoulder. Felix was silent. He was confused, not knowing what to do. Ngozi smiled softly. She knew her tricks were working on him. Little did she know she was digging her own grave. So here brings today's episode to a close. What do you think will happen in the part 3 of this story? Will Ngozi have a taste of her own bitter medicine? What will become the fate of Felix? Find out in the next episode. Thank you for watching today's episode from Anita Chocolate. Please don't forget to support me by subscribing to this channel and also leave a like on this video and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Also, don't forget to indicate in the comment section where you are watching from so I can send you a hug in the next episode. Also, watch these and other stories displaying on the screen while waiting for the next story. Bye.